Yes, it's your boy Gordy here, Flow Talk, Flow Free or Die.
What's up?
Jasmine.
How you doing?
Doing well, how about yourself?
I'm doing good. Just, busy,
Yeah.
right? I feel like everybody's, after COVID, got to get stuff done, busy.
Yep. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to thank you for agreeing to come on the show.
No, thank you for having me on. I follow Flow Talk. What? You gotta hit that subscribe button.
Yes, please do hit the subscribe button.
Yes.
I heard that you have a podcast too.
Oh, I used to. Yes, I used to. It was called Love Lessons with a Latina.
Nice.
And it was a fun show where we talked about love and everything we confuse for love. And so, that was a lot of fun and it was a good ride.
It's definitely relatable topic. I know my wife would love. Conversations like
and
that.
you know what it is that like as a Latina, like you get raised with a lot of, if you're not Catholic or if you're it's Protestant or it's evangelical, right? And you get raised a certain way growing up Latino or Latina or Latine, right? And you have a complex about sex and have a complex about relationships and love and how it should all work out and play out, and everybody's got the man versus woman thing. And Love Lessons with a Latina was like a good deep dive into the conversation, like real conversation of like where all that comes from. And so, yeah, I'm always down to have that conversation with people.
Shout out to my people, Latinos,
Yes,
Boricua, Puerto Rico.
all those lovers out there.
Yes. Shout out to yo, Ep6. So Jasmine, again, thank you for agreeing to come on the show. So for those who don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about who Jasmine is?
Yeah, so my name's Jasmine. I'm originally from Lowell, Mass, but family's from Puerto Rico, so I'm Puerto Rican, and been floating my life between the two of Puerto Rico and here, and grew up in Lowell and went to culinary school, did the whole chef thing, and I was a chef in Boston for a while, and jumped into the nonprofit world.
Nice.
Which was like a deeper dive into a lot of community issues that we have, and then eventually I fell into radio, and that was through the radio station that we have here in Nashua, and started co-founded a company and did podcasts and podcast production, and I really got to have the not the bird course because it wasn't easy, but the bird course of like having a business, owning a business, creating content, what that looks like. And then eventually, it's not easy, and it's not for everybody. Like, everybody's like, I could do it. And a lot of the times, man, that'll break you. Like mentally, it'll break you. Physically, it'll break you. It can, breaks a lot of relationships. And so, it just wasn't for me. And so, then NH PBS picked me up.
That's
and, awesome. I have been hitting the ground running ever since, and now I'm into film production and documentaries and just kind of exploring the art of film, which wasn't an option for me ever in my life. So
you've been making definitely a really big impact in a short period of time. So
yeah, thank you. No, and you too. I mean, come on, flow free or die.
Try. So no, going back to like the creating the content and having an eye opener when you were doing that. A lot of people, I want to discuss that a little bit because a lot of people don't know exactly how hard that is. Listen, I'm a one-man army.
Yeah, I know when you were like, you want to come on the show, I was like, thank you for providing me the time and the space. I know what it's like to set up the equipment and make sure the live feed is going and the sound is good and all of that crazy stuff. And I don't think everybody sees like the work that goes into the behind or the video. A video editor is worth every single penny. And video editing is such a skill that you have to have the patience for, because if you don't have the patience for it, and if you're like me, like you're a creator and you want to just keep creating, it's so worth it to get a video editor.
It really is. I literally spent 2 days. I thought it was going to be a quick, all right, this is a quick episode. I can just do my,
right, because you were like, you already know what clips you wanted to hang into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, man, so long story short, I had the last episode I had it done last Sunday around 10 to 11 o'clock. I forgot to save it, and it crashed on me when I had it done.
Oh my God, that's so heartbreaking. Because that just means going right to the drawing board. Yeah.
So
and it's
then
just
I had to
tough.
start again to like, I didn't go to bed till like 5 a.m. I'm like, I need a break.
Yeah, because once you go in, you're sucked in. Yeah. You're sucked into video editing, and then it's the sound, and then everything's got to come together. Because if you have effects to add into it, you have to make sure that it's literally like having a graphic design, a video editing, communications background. It's that crash course of doing all of that. And, without I always say, like, it's amazing what people can do even without a college education. Like, we can figure this stuff out, but it's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. That definitely like the audio part of it. I had a lot of YouTube videos that I had to endure before I started this, just to kind of get a glimpse of how this works. And educate myself. Like,
I'm telling you, YouTube University, you can learn anything on YouTube.
That's true. That is true. So, well, tell me a little bit about how, when New Hampshire PBS, how that whole project started.
Yeah, with our hometown.
Yes, if you guys don't know, Jasmine was a big part of the project, Our Hometown, with New Hampshire PBS, and she invited myself and Mr. Goodbar, shout out to Mr. Goodbar, to be a part of the project, and among with other people that were in the community making an impact. Beautiful stories. I gotta tell you, man, there was a few of them. I'm like, wow, like. Yeah,
you were like surprised, right? Because you're like, that's here in Nashua, and that's the effect I wanted when I was out doing the research. Because when you do a documentary, you do a segment like that, you have to really do your research and background check everybody, make sure they're all good. And, I embedded myself into the community for over a year, and I learned so much. And I think that was like the best part of the process, was that I got to meet all these people, hear their story, and see how much impact they have on the community. Because it's like a ripple effect. That person does what they do for the community, and it just ripples out into a bigger impact. And you see that as kids grow up in the community, and you see that as young adults are participating more in the community. And so when I was doing Our Hometown Nashua, I was like, I got to do Nashua right, because Nashua's done right by me. You know what I mean? Like, when I came here to Nashua, like I was brand new, I didn't know anybody, and Nashua really welcomed me. All the people that I talked to, all the people that I met, and they all got to see my work, and they got to see what I was doing, and what where the direction I was going in, and everybody just supported me and was like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And it just made me feel like I had to do Nashua right.
Definitely did.
And I even to this time, I'm like, I wish it was longer, because there were more people that I wanted to feature, but it was too hard. And people's attention spans don't last more than maybe 20 minutes at this point. And so, I had to be strategic in the planning of that, but I wanted people to feel surprised about the individuals who work in the community. And I wanted people to feel like, damn, I live here. Yeah. And I wanted them to take pride and ownership of that, because when you take pride and ownership of where you live, you're going to take care of it. You're going to take care of the people around you. And kids see that, and they mirror that, right? Because kids mirror what we do. And so, that's Our Hometown is just one of those really special segments that gets to really feature towns in New Hampshire like people never saw before. And that's what we really wanted.
It was awesome. I think one of my favorite stories where I forget the guy's name, but he started this program where they had community garden for the folks
Grow Nashua. Yeah.
So, and I saw the reasoning behind it, and I was like, wow, it gave me
it gave you chills, right? Because you were like, dang, you think about it, you come to this country and you don't have any of the same foods or vegetables at the supermarket. And here was an individual in the community who was like, well, why don't we just try and grow it? And I think that's what we all forget sometimes too, right? Is that you can just try. You might fail, but you at least tried.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so I think that was,
keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Cause I'm sure they were met with a lot of barriers in that story, but they still managed to figure it out. And so I think, that was one of those special stories that I wanted people to see for sure.
Yeah, and it was incredible. You guys have to watch it. If check out the The website, right?
Yep, nhpbs.org/hometown.
It doesn't take long to watch. I think how long is it? About an hour?
It's about 30 minutes, maybe less than that. Okay. But all of the stories are, and like we were just talking about editing, we're still editing a lot of the stories because we got over 52 of them. And wow. So, you know, can you imagine editing like all of that stuff? So we have the segment, but each individual person's story will still be featured alongside the segment, so they can go and you can watch your specific segment and other people too, you know, that you're interested in and want to dive deeper.
Check it out.
Yeah.
The premiere also was great too. I just want to talk about that a little bit.
That was my first premiere.
Made it big. I mean, like, we were in a big screen, me and Good Bars, and we were like, whoa. So that was awesome. We was at the Art Center, Nashua Art Center.
Yeah, the new Art Center. Yeah. Yes, that was awesome. Yeah. It was so funny because originally when I came to you with the plan, I was like, it's probably going to be at the library. We're going to have a theater. You can invite your family and all that stuff. And then the word got out and it just blew up and it was crazy. And I think I was shocked because this is my first segment that I was an associate producer on. And I was like, oh my God, like this is a lot bigger than what I had anticipated. And then, you know, the Art Center, we were like, okay, so what are we going to do? Because we had like over 100 people RSVP and we had planned for maybe 80.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so we were like, okay, I mean, we could do 2 premieres or we could do, you know, we could figure it out.
Crazy.
But shout out to Lisa Law, because Lisa Law, she came in and she was like, well, why don't we do it at the Art Center? And I was like, I don't even know if we can book the Art Center that soon. And I was like, I don't know if that's like, if the project is like big enough or something like that. And she reached out and she checked for me and she was like, nope, we're going to book it. It's going to be June 11th. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be at the Art Center.
That's
and
crazy,
I just was like, I can't believe that. And so
that was my reaction when you told me too. and my other reaction was when we got there, it was packed.
Yeah, I was because like, you know we opened it to the public at that point because RSVPs were through the roof. So we were like, let's just open it to the public. We'll open overflow seating if you know worst comes to worst. And when I saw the crowd of people sitting in the seats,
oh man, I could have imagined the pressure you felt.
I was like, oh my God, and because I got there before everybody, so I was there like before the seats were filled, and I had like a moment where I looked at the screen and I was like, I can't even believe like I'm doing this right now, because I would not have thought about this 2 years ago. I did not see myself, you know what I mean? Like a girl from Lowell, like, you know what I mean? Like doing something like this. Yes, and so I was shocked and I just had to like take it in. I was like, all right, just taking it in, soaking it in a little bit. And like, and then it was the other part of me that was like, don't let your ego get to you, because girl, you got more work to do after this, you know? And so, you know, I looked at the screen and I was watching everything go, cause I wanted to make sure like audio was good. And my director there, Skylar, he was making sure that it sounded good and that we had a cool reel playing when everybody was coming in. And so, yeah, it was packed and way more than I had anticipated. And even NH PBS was surprised. Like they were like, wow, there was way more people than they've ever had at a premiere for our hometown.
Nashua is prideful, man.
That's what I said. I was like, that's because Nashua really shows up and shows out. You know what I mean? So, you know, and it was just one of those moments where I was like, dang, like, I'm so grateful because I'm learning so much working at NH PBS, and they take care of me really well over there. And now it's really led into my love of film now and documentaries, which I didn't know I had in me. You know what I mean? I didn't know I was going to enjoy it that much. I didn't know I was going to enjoy setting up equipment. I didn't know I was going to enjoy reaching out to people and, you know, organizing and putting them together in a room. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think I would enjoy it that much. And then it was just one of those moments where in my brain it clicked. And if I wish I had an adult like earlier in life that was like, you could do film, you know what I mean? But because I grew up, you know, Latina and in Lowell, you know, you have to get your 9 to 5, you gotta, you know, make sure you're stable, and so now I'm like, it's endless possibilities when it comes to film, when it comes to that kind of art, and even in documentaries, you know. And so that's why I tell people, I'm like, you know, life really just you just got to go with the flow sometimes.
Gotta go. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You can plan as much as you need.
Yeah, exactly. But life is still going to play out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations again on the project for Nashua. So what city's next?
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I can't tell you what city is next yet. But we are going up north. And that to me, I'm like, ooh, that's going to be really interesting.
And cold if you're going to be.
It's cold, right? Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I might have to start making my way up there now to start scouting out. But it's going to be, for me, this is going to be a lot of fun because now I'm hitting the ground from like zero. I don't know anybody in this town, at least in Nashua. Like I knew some people and, you know, I knew how to kind of navigate myself in Nashua, but up north is going to be different. I'm going to start from scratch. Whole different vibe, right? And I tend to bring a lot of flavor wherever I go. And so, you know, I was actually talking with a colleague about this where I was like, okay, I know. And you have to be strategic when you're planning a documentary or a segment like this. You have to be strategic in the sense of like, all right, who are you going to tap? Who are the community assets? That's what I call these individuals who are community leaders because they're an asset to their community. So they're community assets. And so who do I tap into for community assets? And, you know, is there a community within the community that nobody knows about? And, you know, it's going to be fun because I get to play a little detective, but I also get to connect with new people, and it's definitely going to be a different vibe.
Well, good luck on that project.
Thank you.
So, you know, this is Flow Talk. So a lot of our content is, you know, has to do with like a platform for artists and not just music. It's just artists in general. And there's art. There's so many different types of art.
I call it like multimedia art because you can do art of any kind. You know, like now that I'm figuring it out, I'm like, even film is art and video editing is an art. You know what I mean? Like all that is an art.
It's the video editing, man.
I'm telling you, get yourself a video editor.
Yeah, or learn it. As much as you can.
As much as you can. Yeah, exactly. Quickly.
Quickly so you can edit it, so you can be done with it and move on. But don't get stuck on it because then you're just in the zone and all of a sudden it's, 24, 48 hours. You're like, oh man, I didn't even get it.
Yeah, and then you're not even like done yet. You're like, I'm not even done.
So going back, so again, this is a platform for artists. And so I want to kind of go and transition into music a little bit. You say you're from Lowell.
Yes.
You're also Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the music growing up that you really like, some artists?
Ooh, okay. I listened to a lot of old school salsa growing up.
Me too.
So I love I love Hector Lavoe. I love, Gran Combo. I love like all of those like old school salsa bands, and those are so much fun. And I'm a dancer. I love to dance. So like salsa just plays really well into that. And then hip hop played a big role in my life too, because it was just something I listened to growing up a lot. And so hip hop played a big role. So Tupac was like, I always thought Tupac was like ahead of his time, so ahead of his time. Yeah. And you know, what's really funny, and it's so funny, I'm really into right now is Spanish trap music, and more specifically Toquilla.
Okay, yeah.
Which I know everybody's gonna be like hella shocked because like I come off as a very wholesome character, but Toquilla is like one of my favorite.
She's nice.
She is
incredible.
Great. Yeah. Like she is really good, and she just owns femininity in a whole different way for me, and her music embodies that. And then you have young Miko, which I'm like Puerto Rican, she exactly.
Listen, let me tell you something. It don't matter if you're artist, if the Puerto Rican artist does whatever.
Yeah, man.
It's just we support it.
I mean, Benito, of course. Like even though he was dating, who for a while, but I still listen to his music. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but
Puerto Ricans can do pickleball, and that's our favorite pickleball player. I swear to God. So we support our own, no matter what it is.
It doesn't matter. Even ping pong, I think too. I think we even competed in the ping pong tournament.
So you put a Puerto Rican. I don't even know if there's a Puerto Rican golf player out there, a professional.
Is there? Maybe. Honestly, I could see it. Yeah, definitely.
We support our own, man.
Hell yeah. We definitely show up and loud and proud about it. That's for sure. But I've been really enjoying the local music scene lately, and I think it's just because after COVID, we weren't able to do concerts and live shows, and like we couldn't be around each other. And so I think now more than ever, people are seeking to go out, go to see live music, go to concerts and experience that concert vibe, because that's a whole different vibration, right? Of like listening to music together and enjoying it all together. And so now I've been like really like looking to go out into the live music scene and seeing what's out there and what's available. And, and I'm so happy that you introduced me to Mr. Goodbars, because oh my God, like I've been to his studio. We've been working on a little something, which, I'll tell people because I like to sing. And so he's been working with me a little bit to kind of figure out what my sound's going to be like. And I did a little practice podcast with him, and I was, just to play around in his studio a little bit to get my feet wet again. And so Mr. Goodbars is extremely talented. I mean, I watched him edit at least like 6 episodes of like my podcast in less than 15 minutes. And he did it excellent. Like the audio was on point, and he's just, very talented individual. And then you've got Hope the rapper. I was like mind blown when I saw him perform. Right. I was like, wow, like that. I mean, that's right here in Nashua. And I just think, who knows? Maybe we need a bigger platform for.
Lowell's got a crazy music scene.
Yeah, it does. It's bumping now for sure.
Yeah. Lowell's got a crazy local music scene. Shout out to everybody in Lowell and doing their thing over there. I've been seeing online what's going on. So,
it's nice to see so much creativity coming out of the Mill City, like, because I used to say the saying back in the day of like, oh, I loved my city, but it didn't love me back. And so, which at the time was true, but now I see like how I grew up and how the people around me grew up. And it just makes so much more sense that like, we just didn't have all these avenues and platforms to be able to create. And now I'm seeing this like explosion of creation and like content creation and music creation, and kind of reminds me of back like in the 20s and the 30s when everything was roaring again from like illness and prohibition and all that stuff. And so it's cool to see all the music that's coming out of Lowell and Nashua and Worcester and like all those places that you just don't think about when it comes to music. And it's hopping. Anybody you recommend listening to for the audience from Lowell that you know? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't have anyone that I'm like, you got to go listen to them just yet, because I'm still like scouting the scene. But I definitely want to say that like Hope is like, yeah, Hope's got a lot of love over there. Oh my God. I was seeing him getting all the love and Lowell, and I was like, good, because he's really good. And so I was like, that's fine. That's good. But I would love to see like one person from Lowell like really like shine. I haven't seen that shine yet. And I'm not afraid to admit that either. You know what I mean? Because you know how some people like just pick someone because they know them? Nah, yeah, I like really take the time to listen to people's music, the lyrics, how it flows, how they perform it, because you can be a musician, but you don't necessarily, you're not a performer, you know what I mean? And that's okay, right? Because performing is an art, you know what I mean? Like you practice and stuff like that. And so I think right now Lowell is seeing like this big transition of creative like energy and music, and I can't wait to see someone like really come out of that and shine, like, and show that Mill City can represent. Mill City's got a lot of love. So shout out to the Mill City. Well, that's definitely something. I definitely want to visit Lowell more. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that mutual friends and stuff like that. They'll reach out, but with me is like I kind of, outside of this, my life is super private. Right. So yeah. Like, go if I can and go if I can't, So yep. But no, I love Lowell a lot. I've been to Lowell a few times. And, it shows love. Yeah, sure. definitely. And I feel you on the private life thing. I try to be as private as I can. I don't think I can anymore since the segment. At least since the segment, I have gotten way more attention than I think I wanted from the whole thing. And so now I'm like trying to figure out what that feels what that feels like and how to navigate that, because it's easy for someone's ego to get blown up and be like, I'm the best, I could do this. You know what I mean? Like, God. And they get. Show you my email. I'm like, who? All right, I had an email. I'm not gonna say names, but I had an email. I want to say like a couple weeks ago,
and they're like, oh, you should put me on your platform. So I'm like, okay, well, let me check you out, right? So you have an EPK. If you don't know, EPK is an electronic press kit for artists that promote themselves and have a profile and online. So for somebody like me, it would be easy just to click on the link, listen to all your music, look at whatever.
Which is a great tip, because like if you're trying to get on the radio and stuff like that, like having an EPK is like top thing you should have.
Exactly. So nothing there. And so I say, well, do you have, I asked that person, do you have an EPK? Do you have any links to your music? Yeah, I got SoundCloud. I'm like,
oh no!
Yeah, so I'm like,
I hate to say it, but SoundCloud is where dreams go to die.
I know, but if you, that's true in a way. But if you navigate SoundCloud to your benefit, right, instead of doing like music and uploading music there all the time, you can also like. Podcasting is one.
Yeah,
you can upload podcasts, but you can curate different things and like different features, and you can just use it to.
It's too rough. I'm not gonna lie. SoundCloud is too rough of a platform for regular people to use. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have like an editing background or like like music production stuff like that, SoundCloud, you're gonna use the basic editing tools. True. You're gonna use free version, whatever it is, because you're a regular person and you're just trying to create and trying to get your music out there. And I always tell people, like, don't bother with the SoundCloud. Go straight to Spotify. Go straight to all the other platforms, because those are more regular people, user-friendly, that you can learn really quickly. And there's a ton of YouTube videos out there so that you can maneuver and figure out how to get your music out there.
Or use like platforms like TuneCore or DistroKid,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
That's all that distributes to
all the platforms at once. Exactly.
Which is actually much easier.
There you go.
So I get emails like that all the time, and I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous.
It's where the ego just really gets them. My favorite is, I have this many followers. You know what I mean? Like, that's my favorite, and I'm like, yo, but.
And then you look at it, and it's somebody who just created their account.
Yeah, or it's a bot. Like, there's so many bots that'll like you. Yeah, and that's why I'm just like, I'm really there for the talent. You know what I mean? Like, what are your lyrics like? What's your flow like? How are you performing? Are you engaging with your audience? Like, I see some artists who, like, people will comment on their stuff, but they don't take the time to, like, comment back to those people. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they just like it or heart it. And I'm just like, no, you should take, like, if you're an artist and you want your fans to listen to your music, you need to engage. You need to comment back. You need to share their stuff. You need to like their stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's a
I'm
give and take.
Though. I am guilty of that. I don't reply, man. I'm guilty of that. She called me out, but I'm gonna be real about it. I put stuff
it's okay. I've done it too. I
love it and all that. I just, it's just easier to love the comment or say thank you, appreciate you, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's love. It's not just something to just quickly text it. Like, if I say I appreciate you, thank you. Yeah. It's genuinely like, I appreciate you for supporting,
because you took the time. Yeah, exactly.
So, but I am one of those guys sometimes where I just like heart it
and that's it, right?
Then I look at my numbers, like, why is my engagement down?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, it's what I can tell a lot from the artist when I see how they engage, when I see how they flow, how they perform. Like, your social media presence is 2D. That's it. That's like, the social media presence is 2D. It's never real, right? And so when you get to meet the artist and you get to hear them in person, it'll change your whole perspective from that 2D perspective you've had, And so that's why I say, practice your performing, engage with your audience, make sure your music is getting out there in different ways. Be creative about how you get your music out there, because it's saturated, right? Like, it's super saturated. So how do you, like, break the sound, the mold, right? And you just got to get creative about how you put your music out there. I've seen people take their music and make a fake commercial for a product. Oh, yeah, I know. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's creative as hell, because what happens with commercials, they get stuck in your head and you can't stop hearing it, right? And especially if it's got a catchy hook, you know what I mean? And so I just say, like, artists just need to get creative and stop copying people from social media, because, like I said, social media is 2D. And so if you just create from that inner part of you that knows how to make music, just think about ways that people listen to sound, commercials, libraries, right? Even a library, like if the library is putting on an event, show up. Maybe you can perform. That's how you get your music out. You engage more with people, and people want to listen to you.
You know what's crazy about that? So I'm gonna go back a couple years. Well, I'm gonna go back like actually a whole different era.
Okay.
I was watching a documentary of, remember the song "Who Let the Dogs?"
Yeah.
And at that time, there's no social media or anything like that, right? So they had the, how are they gonna get people to listen to them?
Right.
So I guess they had like a machine behind them, but they had no idea how to get it as a hit record because they everybody rejected them.
Right.
So they started making a deal with MLB, and they played it through the baseball parks, and that's how it got.
That's
popular.
Genius. That is so genius because
it went through the minor leagues, then it went to the major leagues.
Think about, and this is where I tell artists too, right? Think about who your audience is, because baseball fans are loyal.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So if you play your music at the baseball park, you're most likely going to get loyal fans. Yeah. Now think about wrestling. Wrestling fans are one of the most loyal fans I have ever seen. Yep. But they're that audience. And that's why Bad Bunny was so successful, because he jumped into wrestling and he was smart and he was strategic about this, because now he has undying loyal fans that will always listen to his music despite what he does, right?
They don't have to understand it. They just listen to it because
they just listen to it because they respect it, right? And so I think that's the other part too, is that you have to think about your audience and how you want to market. Like, what kind of audience do you want? Do you want them to be loyal to your music? So do your research. What audiences are loyal to specific brands? Look at the age, look at the gender of like the people who, purchase that stuff. Research. You got to do that research, and it'll help so much how, instead of trying to market and throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that it sticks, right? And that someone will watch, or that it'll go viral and that'll hit. Instead, just be more strategic about which audience you want to serve and focus in on them.
Absolutely. And that comes to another point too, because a lot of times what you said, where they throw this spaghetti in the wall, see what sticks. A lot of times when they start posting things and they'll get the small numbers like 5 listens, 10 listens, 15 listens, they get discouraged because they'll see like, oh man, I spent 6 hours on a song. I spent a whole day to do the music video. Mm-hmm. And I put it up, and I'm getting 20 listens. I'm getting
20 listens or 200 views or whatever.
200 views.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they don't understand. Like, that's a good start.
That's a great start.
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, is that like, I think that people have this like image of like, damn, that's where the ego comes in, right? It's that ego of like, I know that was good because I spent so much time on it, and spent mad money, exactly. But in reality, like if you think about it and you hear like other artists, they're like, yeah, I have people listening to my old music, like, from back in the day, now that they're hitting it big, and they still have all that old stuff, and now their loyal fans are listening to that stuff, right? And so I think when you see those numbers and you're like discouraged by how much it's going down, it's really that's when you need to be strategic about who your audience is and who you're trying to market to.
Right there.
It does. And like and even social media will do it for you. Facebook does it for you. Instagram does it for you. It'll break down who your audience is, and then you can really hyper focus in on those people and really market them, because then they'll become loyal listeners and they'll buy your merch, and they'll, you know what I mean? Because they'll follow you. Mm-hmm.
So don't get discouraged. If you're getting 200, 300, 400 views, it's really a good start. You're not going to go viral just off of one post. Everybody uses the internet now. So, but like she said, it's it takes time. It takes time. And figure it out.
I always tell people when I'm creating with them, like, listen, creating content is it's a full-time job. Yes, and so like, even when people have like, because I do get people who are like, I have an idea for a show and stuff like that. But in reality, like, I tell people, like, it's a full-time job. Are you ready to dedicate some time to creating content? Because it does take time out of your day. It takes time out of your schedule, and it's something that you have to be really passionate about to get into, because once you start, you got to hit the ground running, because if not, you're going to get discouraged. You know what I mean? Like, you'll see the 200 views or the 300 views and you'll get discouraged, and you just got to keep going though. Like, it's consistency too.
Yeah, it is consistency. I would say with the consistent part of it is don't let it run you though. Like, take your time. Like, I know, you know, people will see like these influencers who've made it already, and they'll see, you know, the insights of, oh, I gotta post a video every 2 hours or whatever. You're gonna drive yourself freaking crazy.
Honestly. And I think that's the mental health piece of that, right? Is that when you're creating content, and I tell people, I'm like, oh, you have a show idea, and I'm like, yeah, but you have time, but do you have like a year? Do you have 2 years? Because it takes time to put something quality out, and if that's what you're looking for is quality, then that's going to take time, and that's going to take more than a couple of months. That's going to take sometimes a year, sometimes 2, to really get your foundation set to be able to create quality content. And I think that, you know, like you said, the influencers who hit it big, or they hit viral on one video, and then what? Then it flops the rest because they're so high on that ego of like validation from social media. And I think that's why I tell people, I'm like, stop looking for validation for your music, for your art on social media. Just create. Stop looking for validation.
Everything will come to you know, come to terms, basically.
Yeah.
Everything will work itself out.
Exactly.
And get people that, and it's very easier said than done. Get people that you trust. Somebody told me.
Ain't that a doozy?
Yeah, it's easier said than done. But somebody told me the other day. Well, I don't say the other day. This has been stuck with me for a little while. Is, you know, get people that are smarter than you. It's tough to do that because people are smarter than you. Then will try to give the upper hand on you, and
that's so true.
You know, and then you won't realize it. But at the same time, if you can trust them and they have good intentions, it'll work best. Yeah. You know, so the more people that are in your corner, the faster you get things done, and the more work you get done.
Yeah.
You know,
and I tell people too that, like, don't depend on the friends that you've always had to validate your art because they won't validate your art. They're not going to know how to.
They know you too much.
They know you too much. Exactly. And so, like, that's why, like, I love seeing, like, those posts that say, oh, you know, my friends don't support my work. It's always people I don't know. And I'm just like, yo, that's so much pressure to put on your friendship. They know you. They know you so well. You know what I mean? Like, they can support you, but they're not going to support you like a new fan will. You know what I mean? Fans are different. You know what I mean? And so I think people need to separate like that, like person who loves my art and person who just loves me. Yeah. And so, you know, because we get caught up in that too, like where we're like, oh yeah, I got to cut off that friendship, got to cut them off because I'm creating and they're not supporting. And I think there is a lot to say about someone's character when they're that, like, it's so easy to cut people off. You have to understand that your art is you. Yeah. It's you. It's not them. You know what I mean? And so fans are going to be different from your friends.
Yeah, I mean, I have a knack for cutting people off.
Me too. Don't worry.
I don't like doing it. So, you know, it's like you say, like, you know, your friends or family, they're not going to support you. I'm not going to mention names, but I do have a family member throughout the years has been negative towards what I did, and it discouraged me. But at the same time, it's like, you know, he doesn't pay my bills, so like
exactly.
You know what I mean? So I just kept going with it, and then I noticed the trend of people who are, you know, they're not their acquaintances, or they know me through just, you know, grapevine, and they show love and be like, man, I love what you're doing. I'll support, you know, I'll buy merchandise, whatever the case may be. So with that, at that point, I knew that people were like, okay, really messing with it. And one of my best friends always told me when I started, he's like, bro, you don't know how many people fuck with your shit.
Exactly.
So like,
and that it puts it in perspective, though. It puts it in perspective because I say misery loves company, and if those people are miserable about like how you're creating your art, then, you know, like, you just mind your business and keep creating. Exactly. That's literally what I do. Like, I tell people, I'm like, because I'll have people who will come up to me like, oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear what they said or what they're doing? And I'm like, no, because I'm busy doing my own stuff. You know what I mean? Like, busy doing my own thing, busy creating, but, you know, like, I just mind my business. Because
I'm petty sometimes too. Don't get me wrong.
I'm not gonna lie, it's tempting sometimes. I got
screenshots of a lot of things, and I keep it there because, you know, it's just. Nah. It's there, but I don't put people on blast. I just look at it as motivation.
It's hard because I tell people, I'm like, sometimes that, you know, that inner professionalism comes in, and like, I just got to be the bigger person.
Yeah.
I just got to be the bigger person and mind my business. And, you know, because like you got into that cycle and you're like, damn, I can't believe they're saying that. Like, how could they? Like, I can't believe they're doing that. How could you get into that like negative cycle and you're like, damn, I'm becoming miserable like they are. And then you're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to mind my business and do my thing. And people who like it will like it and they'll follow.
That's true. That's true. Jasmine, we know each other for about a year, right?
Yeah.
So there's people out there that know, like back in the day, oh man, I used to get on people all the time, but I switched.
You're growing, right? It takes time.
But you know, like,
it's
just
hard.
recently somebody posted something about me a long time ago, and I kept screenshots, and then I didn't say anything to that person. I seen them the other day. I was with a family member, and I remember what they said because I don't forget, right?
Yeah.
But it was never like I never had an issue with this person, so it was just like I guess a matter of an opinion. So I was like, whatever. Then he's like, "What's up, man? Happy Father's Day." Boom. You know, like, yo, I wanted to say something so bad, but then I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna pick and choose my battles.
Exactly.
Right,
yo, that's
time.
growth right there, though.
God,
that is part of growing, though, because like probably the 2-3 years ago, you would have been like, yo,
no,
we need to address this right now.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
I would have been like, what's up? Like, you know, like, I'm not violent, but at the same time, like, I don't like people talking shit, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Nobody
that's
does.
really
Nobody does.
It's
but
like,
you know,
especially when you don't do anything to these cats, like they just start talking shit for no reason, and it's like, whatever. But at the same time, you just move on from it.
Exactly.
And just keep going because you know,
right?
If they don't like you, they're still gonna watch you. So
100%, 100. That is the biggest truth I've come to notice is that
keep my views up.
Yeah, exactly. I've come to notice is that they like people that I just don't have contact with anymore. I just don't watch their stuff anymore, and it's just because it's a form of protection from you, and the other part is that when you love what you're doing, you don't care. And I think that's the part of life I'm in right now is that I love what I'm doing, so I don't care. And so I'm just like, I hope and I wish for everybody that they get to a moment in life where they're like, I just love what I'm doing and I just don't care about anybody else. I'm just going to keep doing this because it is really the best feeling like in the world to really enjoy what you do and be stressed about it and still love what you do. And that really makes a difference.
Now when they talk, I'd be like Conor McGregor and go
MMA.US and cage.
Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Hold up. I messed up. But anyway, it's supposed to say, who the fuck is that guy? So that's Conor McGregor's little soundbite. I have to fix that, but I'll put that.
We're figuring it out. We're figuring it out.
So, no, I mean, that's really what it is. And once you have that mindset, it really just makes everything
easier. It really does, because then you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna focus on creating, and there's no noise. You don't hear the noise from anybody else. The only noise you hear is the people being like, damn, what you put out was great, like, are you gonna do more, you know? And like, that's such a great feeling of like, dang, all I had to do was just focus on my own stuff and forget about the noise.
Forget about people.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you're looking at it like, damn, like, what am I doing?
Right, because you're so busy comparing yourself and trying to fit in and trying to make friends and you're just trying to, you know, fit. You're just trying to identify and fit in with people. And so that's when you become the least like yourself, right? And then you get to a point in life where you're like, all right, I really need to be myself. And when you start to really, truly be yourself, you know, unapologetically, that's when the creativity starts to flow. That's when everything starts to come out. And you'll start to see the friendships that are like, all right, you know, this friendship I formed on a trauma bond with someone because something bad happened and we loved each other since then. And, you know, maybe it's time to move on from this trauma bond. You know what I mean? And so like, it's hard. And we could go deep into this, but it's one of those things where you learn with time, and it comes with time. Obviously, so some people never do grow up, though.
I don't know about you, but for me, when I was young, well, let me ask you, because I know what my answer is if somebody would ask me.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you knew what you knew now when you started, like, you know, in the field you're in?
Yeah, 100%. You know, that whole part of like,
or when you were younger. Like
yeah, and honestly, I went to culinary school. I went back to school for psychology. I went back to school for so many things that I thought I was passionate about because so many people around me were like, you should do that because you're good at it. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things where like radio opened up the world for me in a sense of like, oh my God, I can actually like create things and you know, like I don't have to have a 9 to 5 and make money. You know what I mean? Like there are different ways to find stability. And so I think that like, if I did know, and especially that part of like, surround yourself with smart people, but be careful with the smart people because they can have the upper hand on you. That is without a doubt sometimes true. And it's just because when you're gullible or like you don't know. They know that and they take advantage of that. And I think that as long as you go into everything with the right intention and knowing what your intentions are from the beginning, then it makes it a little bit easier.
FYI, let the contract speak for you.
Yes, exactly. Let the contract speak, or you know, sometimes the contracts can be shady too. So you got to read those contracts, and you got to
100%
take that to a lawyer. If someone feels offended from you taking a contract to a lawyer to look over before you sign it, it's a no-go.
Yeah,
it's a no-go. Don't sign that deal. It's a no-go.
Without reading it. I'm pretty good. Yeah, with, like. Some, you know, when I look over, I would look over a contract.
Yeah, you read every single line and you make sure that you still own your art at the end of the day, because it's very easy to lose the intellectual rights to your art very quickly if you don't read those contracts all the way through. And I know that because I experienced that too.
Protect yourself.
Exactly.
Don't sign something just because they're selling you Disney. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
and don't let anybody smooth talk you either, because sometimes, you know, big words, big emotions, big passion can win over in a room very, very quickly. But when that contract is signed and then you're like, you sign the deal with the devil and that's it, like you don't realize it till after. And you know, it's one of those things where I tell people, like, just read everything. And if they feel offended of you taking that contract to a lawyer, that's a no-go. That's not a good contract to sign. Don't sign it.
Take notes.
That's for real.
Take notes. And there's no excuses in this. I mean, like people, like again, people look at social media or content creating. They're like, oh man, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, this guy's living a lavish lifestyle, or this girl's living it up.
I always tell people 2D.
Yeah, it is.
Social media is 2D. Someone could own a boat, Lamborghini, whatever, and they'll be on social media being like, "This is my life," da 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 da, and then they're like really like on the struggle bus for real, and it's just all a show. On social media is 2D, so just focus on you, focus on your stuff.
But if you do want to do it, so yeah, Jasmine, you're married with kids, right?
Yes, yeah.
I'm married with a kid. We love kids. I love my son.
I love my kids too. You know what I mean?
But don't you wish you had the time you had before you had kids to do this? So
100%. You know, I tell this. My husband and I talk about this all the time because I feel like I just scratched the surface of what I love to do, and I wish I had scratched it sooner. You know what I mean? Because I wasted so much time in. And this is not a knock on anybody with college education, because I have it, right? I just wasted so much time in college, and I ended up being in a shit ton of debt for what? Because I'm not even in any of the fields I went to school for. And by the end, I didn't even want to work in those jobs because school devoured me up enough to not want to pursue those things. And so, you know, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you know, don't be in a rush, because life will
figure it out.
Yeah, for real. Like, your 20s are to mess around. I wish I had figured this out in my 20s, but your 20s are really the time to take risk like that, like these that we're taking now, right? Yeah. Your 20s are like, should be dedicated to taking risk and figuring out what you want to do. And really, now that I'm going to be 30, like in the next coming year, right? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dang, I'm I'm not stopping. I have the energy now because I love what I do. So I have the energy now. I feel like I'm like 25 again because I'm like excited about what I'm doing. And so,
oh, bless your heart. When you turn 30, the energy's gonna dwindle.
I know some people are like, I don't know, the 30's gonna hit you really hard. But I tell people like sometimes when you love what you do, the energy comes from somewhere. I don't know where it does, but I wish I had figured it out in my 20s. I wish I hadn't wasted all that money on college and figuring it out. Like, I wish I had the time to take time off, like, between school. Like, I tell people, I'm like, especially like high school seniors, I talk to them about, is college right for them, and sometimes it's not for everybody. And
learn a trade.
Yeah, learn a trade, learn a business, or go to school for business, because if you go to school for business, it opens the window to a lot of things. And so I feel like now I'm like, dang, I'm just scratching the surface what I love to do. And it's much harder to do now with kids and a partner, because they deserve our time, right? And so
absolutely.
And we still have to.
My wife for that, supporting me.
Yeah, my husband too, because he's always been really supportive and extremely. Even when I was like dirt broke, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Like, I tell people, it's like I was dirt broke for a long time, and nobody really saw that. And so he really supported me in a way that not a lot of partners do. And so I think that's also key to some of this art creation, some of this business ownership, is having a partner who supports you even through those really dark moments where you're like, I don't know if this is going to work out, and love you even when you fail, because sometimes you do fail and you're like, oh, damn, I just made this really hard for everybody around me, including my partner, and they still stick by you. And that's really important, because
we need a support system for sure.
Yeah, because you're gonna fail. There's a lot of room to fail.
Oh yeah.
And you just need people who aren't gonna be like, aha, you failed. No, you need people who are like, it's all right, the next thing will come.
Yeah.
You know,
you get knocked down, you get
exactly,
nothing's gonna hit you harder than life, like Rocky said.
Exactly.
So, absolutely. I think for me it was kind of the same. My struggle is the time management.
I think that's a real struggle for a lot of creators.
It's the time management, right? Because you only have 7 days a week. You work for 5, and then the weekend you have to do errands, like do laundry and whatever, groceries, and at that point you got like 3 hours of left.
Exactly.
And you have to spend time with your kids, because at the same time, like that's a crucial. My kid's 4 years old, so it's a crucial period of his life,
right? Where they're gonna remember
to be a part of
exactly.
it. You know what I mean? So. And then Sunday, church.
Always church and family, right?
Yeah,
church and family. That's really what it is. Yeah.
So, I manage it as much as I can. And then I try to do events at least 2 to 3 times a year. That's my goal.
Yeah.
But
that's tough though.
It's my goal.
And I mean, for me as a community engagement person, like creating events and stuff like that, like that's a part of my job description. And I think about this all the time, like, how am I going to do this and have 2 kids and still be with my partner and still be a good friend and still be, and I think the time management part of creating is really difficult. And I have ADHD, so time management is just, I'm like time blind for a lot of the time. I try to be on time for everything. It's like my goal. So hard, it's my goal. I don't always make it, but I try.
My goal is to make this my 9 to 5 plus OT. That's the goal for me. So.
Who knows? Maybe the radio. Yeah. What about New Hampshire Public Radio?
I don't know. Maybe. Ooh. Maybe not. I don't know.
They don't have a music segment.
Oh, they don't. Well,
we'll see. They don't have a music. They don't have a music segment. I don't know. A good pitch.
Hey, as long as it equals up to what I'm getting paid now to be able to pay my bills and provide for my family.
So what makes you? This is what makes you passionate, then, right?
Yeah, I love doing this. It's work. Don't get me wrong. It's just because I'm my own guy, man. Like I educated myself to learning all this stuff.
Right.
I've never. Like I taught myself how to type.
I don't do. I tell people I don't have a background in this.
Yeah,
I don't have a background in film. I don't have a background in podcast. I don't have a background in radio. Nothing. I learned everything as I went.
Yeah, that same thing with me. and that, and also learning how to build this as a business, going through multiple, tutorial videos, and it's a lot. I put a lot of time and investment and money.
Yeah,
because I believe in it. I believed in it since 2015. Good Bars will tell you, like, when I first started it, I think I was like 26, 27. I'm 35 now. In between time, I got married with a kid, and it's just like
that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of change.
You know, yeah, no, absolutely. And it stopped. I got COVID really made me reevaluate my life.
I think it made everybody reevaluate their lives.
By the blessing of God, Bernie hit me up and got me to a point where I was like, I'm not stopping.
Shout out to Bernie.
Shout out to Bernie. Love you, bro. I hope you're living it up in Florida.
That's right.
So, and then I was just like, I'm not stopping now. And then things just came into fruition, like, when it comes to this stuff. And just, I saw it from 2015 that there's talent here.
100%.
And my vision was, I mean, I got dudes and, older cats now that used to rap, and they were nasty. There wasn't a platform here for it.
Right. They felt they had to go somewhere else.
And then they grew up and had kids and had to become, had to go get jobs.
Go back and
that whole system, the system that we live in. And I was like, damn, man, if we can only have some sort of platform to really build that, right? Because the internet is only getting bigger.
Right.
So that's what came with that. And yeah, man, it hit me right like a light bulb. And
well, it's the only thing I've seen in Nashua that talks about any sort of music scene here. So I think it's really important because I don't even think the rock scene has a show, like a platform like this, and we have a lot of rock bands in New Hampshire.
There's
you know what I mean? There's a lot of rock. Yeah,
bands, period.
Yeah.
My goal is it's not even to address the hip hop and the rap scene here. Honestly, it's to address all the music scenes in general. A lot of people, and thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. So I want to clear this up. A lot of people think that Flow Free or Die is just rapping because you flowing and all that. It really is just the name of the platform that I created. Obviously, we live in New Hampshire, so Live Free or Die, Flow Free or Die just sounded great. But it's not just hip hop or rap. I really want to integrate with you guys from rock to country to Latino. Like, I want to do Spanish podcasts. Like, that is the goal. So, like,
that would be dope.
This is your platform for that, So you hit me up and we can get that going. But I want to clear the air on the stigma that people had with my platform, saying it's just a rap platform and all that. It's not that. Right. It's a platform for you guys to really help build your fan base. That's what I'm here for. Right. So yeah, I'm putting time.
Subscribe and reach out if you're a musician or a band and you need a platform to, spread your music, because we don't have stuff like this in New Hampshire, and radio stations are kind of dying out a little bit. And so, we kind of need a little bit more of a boost. And I really think that New Hampshire has a lot to offer. Oh, yeah. And people just don't know it because there's such a stigma about, like, this is like, out there country, you know what I mean? But that's not true. There's so many people, so many eclectic people. I got
family in Philadelphia that would think New Hampshire, and they're like, what?
Yeah. I have people in Lowell who are like, where? Nashua, where? You know what I mean? Because they're just, it's just that perception of New Hampshire. But it's important to shine a light on, like, all the music that's here, because there is Spanish music here. I know, because I'm helping create some, wink wink. But yeah, so that's why I'm saying, like, subscribe, come talk to Johnny, because he is great to talk to, easy to talk to too.
Appreciate that. You as well. You've been a great help. She's a blessing. Like, she's, as soon as I met her a year ago, I believe, at the radio station.
Yeah.
And one thing to another, we just been kind of working and collaborating, and so hey, guys, reach out to Jasmine.
Yeah, and hey, that's why I tell people, I'm like, PBS. It's been a little bit since we've done a lot of, like, community outreach like this, and I've been really, really intentional about how it's going to get done. And that's why I'm just like, I reach out to people like you because I know you have good intentions for the community, and I reached out to a lot of the people because they all have genuine good intentions for the community. And I think that's the key to good networking, right? Absolutely. Good networking is meeting with good people who have good intentions and want to do good stuff together. And, you know, they're not trying to screw each other over. They're not trying to make money off of each other. I mean, it's good to make money together.
It is.
But it's, you know, it's another thing to make money off of each other. And I think that's why, like, if I can use the PBS platform to elevate, you know, members of the community that I feel like need that lift, because sometimes they need it, you know, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
That's what we're here for. So I have the Flow Free or Die Cypher Volume 3 coming out.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, okay.
So that's coming out. I'm still in the works of getting artists to put their verses in, but
okay.
I was at Good Bars Studio. Shout out to
Good
Bars again. Mad love. You know, Good Bars has been.
And if you need a studio space in Nashua,
Toy Box Studios.
Head up Mr. Good Bars. He's great and extremely talented.
Yeah, in my days of trying to become a rapper, the Good Bars was there like the first day I was in the booth at his old friend's house, and that's where I met him. And then, you know, long story short, you know, we're here now. So Good Bars is a good friend. I've known him for a long time, and he'll hook you up. So
yeah, definitely.
Shout out to him. But I was there, and he put a verse down for me.
Was it good? It was nasty.
It was good.
Oh.
It was good. It was good. I'm not gonna show it yet.
Oh.
I don't want people to try to compare, right? So what I do is I'll send the blank beat and let the artists do their own creative thing. So I don't want them to compare themselves.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's because they're gonna get compared by the viewers.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to have that perception as well.
Yeah.
So I just want them to just create art, and it worked for the first two, so I want to keep it going. It's gonna be called Cyphers of Gordy. That's my nickname.
That's gonna be dope.
So
okay,
I'm excited for that. Yeah, and it's coming out soon. It's coming out real soon.
Okay.
Me and Good Bars had a conversation, and we felt good about it, and I'm hyped. Yeah, I'm super hyped for it.
You know who I want to work with is with Goldie the Goddess.
Oh, she's great.
She's awesome, and she does like manifestation music, and that's kind of my vibe too. So I told, hey Goldie, we're gonna create something soon. I know it. I feel it.
Yeah, shout out to her, and shout out to some of the artists outside of Nashua too. I've had the privilege of meeting some really talented artists in Manchester, Rochester, Portsmouth, Dover. Maine is popping with people. Crazy, I was surprised. Vermont. I have not seen the Vermont scene, but the Maine scene, I'm like, wow, it's popping over there. I didn't think that. It's out there. Shout out to you guys. If y'all watching this, hit me up. We'll set up a date. We'll get you in the pod. I really want to network with you guys. I've been moving around, going to places, but for now, this is kind of my consistent place to do the pod. So hit me up for that. What do you have going on? I know you said you had a song coming up.
Well, I'm working on I've been doing some songwriting and working with Esmeldi Angeles, who is a phenomenal videographer, photographer, music writer. She's a singer. She actually put out like a song a while back. It was really good. It was in Spanish. And so I'm working with her, and we're thinking about putting out a salsa song.
Hey.
So I was like, all right, you know, because I haven't heard like newer salsa in a long time. I feel like people have kind of like forgotten the genre a little bit, and I want to bring it back and maybe put a little northeastern flavor onto it.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait if you decide to release it. I can't wait to hear it. I love salsa. One of my favorite artists ever. I mean, Frankie Ruiz is like,
that's top notch.
That's growing up before we head out.
He's like the Freddie Mercury to Puerto Ricans.
Before we head out here, because our time is almost up. Growing up, I used to hate salsa music. But my mom used to play it every Sunday when we had to clean. I used to hate it. I was more into the pop culture, rap, hip hop, whatever the pop was, dances, all that. Michael Jackson, cool. But as I grew older, I appreciated it more because the lyrics just made more sense to me as you grow older. And
definitely.
Now it's one of my favorite, probably one of my go-tos when I'm trying to feel the vibe.
Yeah, and I think that's the same for me. My dad used to blast that in the car, and I just used to hate it. And now I understand the lyrics. And now I'm like, dang, they were in their feelings back in the day, like way in their feelings. And so I'm like, we need to bring this, we need to bring that culture back. Like,
if you get the translation to those lyrics, they're not
as clean. You know, they always hate on our music, but you know, it's not as clean, you know? So, but salsa is definitely one of those things where I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to like dabble my feet into and really put some pedal to the metal. And I know Mr. Goodbar, he's been hitting me up. He's like, when are we going to be working again in the studio, Jasmine? And hey, we all need that one person that keeps us accountable, like to create art, right? Because sometimes we forget and we get caught up in life, and someone that takes that one person to be like, hey, what's up with your art? What are you doing? Are you creating anything?
Yeah. There's always somebody reaching out, so they're watching. Well, Jasmine, that's our time. I want to thank you again for agreeing to be a guest.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
Great conversation. I wish we can talk more. We could talk another hour.
I tell people all the time, like, you can get into real deep conversation with me.
Well, me too, because, you know, once we go in it and dive deep into topics, like, I'm very passionate.
I will say, though, my favorite episode of Flow Talk is with your family.
Oh, the core.
Oh my God, that is the funniest episode I've ever watched. I thought it was so good. You should do more of those.
Yeah. The Cora family's really big. So if there was any, well, you know, for the next continuation, if you ever do another project with my hometown Nashua, the Cora family were the first Puerto Rican families in Nashua.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and that's my wife's family.
Ooh, that's good to know, because I've got another little side project, but I won't tell you all about it.
There you go. Well, that's our time. This is Flow Talk. My name is Gordy. That's Jasmine. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in.